The sun had barely risen over the shattered tree lines of eastern Ukraine when the brigade began to move. Their boots sank into the wet mud, every step leaving behind an imprint of exhaustion, but also of determination. These were men who had seen months of combat, who carried not just their rifles, but also the invisible weight of friends lost in battles endured. The air smelled of damp earth and burnt metal, reminders of artillery shells that had struck the night before. The soldiers moved cautiously, spread out across a wide field, rifles slung, eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of Russian movement. They thought the morning was quiet to quiet, but above them, high in the sky, unseen and unheard at first, the enemy was already watching. A Russian FPV drone circled like a silent predator, its electric hum lost against the wind. From its mounted camera, the brigade's every movement was transmitted in real time to an operator seated miles away, fingers poised over controls, eyes fixed on a screen that showed their every step. The soldiers did not know. Not yet. The brigade commander, Major Andriy, raised his fist, signaling his men to halt near a collapse barn. His sharp eyes scanned the terrain. He felt something was wrong. The battlefield had taught him to sense danger. Even when none was visible, he gestured to two scouts to move forward, to check the far hedgerows. The men obeyed, crouching low, moving carefully, but overhead, the drone's operator zoomed in, watching them crawl across the mud-like insects, unaware they were already trapped in the predator's gaze. The operator muttered into his headset, his Russian accent cold, deliberate, target in sight, group of 10 to 15 men, confirm strike authorization. Back at a hidden command post, an officer gave a single nod, authorization granted. The game of death was about to begin. The first hint came as a faint buzzing sound. One of the Ukrainian soldiers, a young recruit barely 20 years old, stopped and tilted his head. "Do you hear that?" He whispered. His comrades froze. The buzzing grew louder. They exchanged worried glances. It was a sound they had learned to fear. "Drone!" Someone shouted. Instantly, chaos erupted. Soldiers dove into ditches, clung to the wet ground, rifles raised to the sky, but it was too late. The drone had already spotted them. From above, the FPV operator locked onto his target. He angled the drone down, its small explosive payload glinting in the morning light. The screen before him showed terrified men scrambling for cover, but he had already chosen. His thumb pressed forward. The drone descended with terrifying speed. The Ukrainian Brigade fired frantically, bullets snapping into the sky. A few rounds nearly clipped the drone, but it swerved and adjusted. Its camera steady, its course unbroken.
Then it struck. A thunderous blast tore through the collapsed barn, where 3 soldiers had taken cover. Wood splintered, smoke billowed, and screams filled the air. The survivors scrambled, trying to pull the wounded out, but the drone had done its job. The operator smirked. "Direct hit," he said calmly, already preparing another. But the nightmare was just beginning. Because this was no ordinary reconnaissance drone, it was part of a swarm. High above, hidden by clouds, more FPV drones began to descend, each guided by an operator, each armed with explosives, each hungry for blood. The Ukrainian brigade realized the truth. They weren't just being watched. They were being hunted. Panic spread. Major Andriy tried to rally his men, his voice rising above the chaos. "Stay together. Don't scatter. Find cover and spread camouflage." But the open field offered little protection. Some soldiers ran toward a tree line, others dug desperately into the mud, pressing themselves flat. They knew what was coming. The sound of buzzing grew louder. 5 drones, then 6, then 7. The battlefield sky was alive with mechanical predators. The brigade opened fire, rifles snapping, a machine gun thundering from the tree line. One drone exploded midair, shredded by bullets. Cheers erupted, but it was short-lived. 4 more swooped down at once, each targeting different positions. Explosions ripped across the field. Soil and smoke shot into the air. Men were thrown off their feet. The cries of the wounded echoed. Major Andriy ducked into a trench, heart pounding, ears ringing from the blasts. He raised his radio. "Command, this is Alpha Brigade, we are under heavy drone assault. FPVs, we need countermeasures now." But the reply crackled with static. The Russians were jamming their communications. The brigade was alone. The surviving soldiers looked to their commander, faces pale with fear. The realization hit them with brutal clarity. The drones had spotted them, and there was no escape. Above, the operator guided another drone, his hands steady, his face expressionless. On his screen, a group of Ukrainians dragged a wounded comrade toward cover. He locked onto them. "It's too late for you," he whispered, pushing the throttle forward. The drone screamed down like a bullet. The soldiers below heard the sound growing louder, closer, unstoppable. Their eyes widened in terror. And then, impact. The ground shook. A cloud of dirt and blood rose. Silence followed for a moment, broken only by the buzzing of more drones circling above, searching for their next prey. The brigade had realized the drone had spotted them, but by then, it was already too late. And this was only the beginning. The soldiers knew they had been seen. The FPV drone's slow, menacing hover over the treeline confirmed it. They had seconds, perhaps a minute at best, before the first strike. Captain Andrei's voice came through the headset, calm but firm, though deep down, he knew panic was creeping in. Spread out, do not stay clustered, move into cover, now. The Ukrainian brigade scattered, trying to disappear under the broken canopy of ruined buildings and shattered vehicles. But the drone followed them, its camera recording every move. Too late, whispered Sergeant Pavlo, clutching his rifle as he glanced upward. The buzzing sound was like a swarm of angry hornets, drilling into the men's nerves. The FPV drones didn't just watch, they hunted. Then it happened. A sharp dive, a mechanical whine. The first explosion ripped through an armored personnel carrier at the edge of the street. The vehicle burst into flames, sending shards of steel flying in every direction. The men instinctively dropped to the ground, covering their heads. The air was filled with fire, smoke, and the metallic taste of burning fuel. Medic! Medic! Someone screamed as two soldiers stumbled out of the smoke, one clutching a bleeding arm, the other dragging a comrade whose leg was mangled. But the drone wasn't finished. High above, another FPV unit swooped in, locking onto its next victim. This one didn't go for a vehicle. It went for the soldiers themselves. Andrei saw it. He screamed over the comms, incoming, get down, but it was too late. The drone slammed directly into a foxhole where 3 men had been taking cover. The explosion was deafening. Dirt and blood mixed together, showering across the narrow trench line. Silence followed, broken only by the drone's fading echo as it circled back for another pass. The men were in shock. These weren't conventional bombs dropped from miles above. This was personal, an enemy flying machine with eyes, deliberately seeking them out. It was psychological warfare as much as physical destruction. Hours dragged like days. Every movement had to be calculated, every whisper controlled. But the Russians weren't just using drones, they were using them in swarms. One brigade soldier, Mikola, muttered to himself while reloading his rifle. His hands shook uncontrollably. They don't even need tanks anymore. This is death from the sky. Andrei clenched his jaw. He needed a plan, fast. Signal our anti-drone unit. We need the jammers now, or we're finished. But their communications had been disrupted. The drone operators had technology that blocked signals, forcing the Ukrainians into isolation.